How about a moment from the Word? Working our way through Matthew, we're at Matthew 16, beginning at verse 13, which says, "When Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, 'Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?' And they said, 'Some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elias, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets.' And he said to them, 'But whom say ye that I am?' And Simon Peter answered and said, 'Thou art the Christ, thou art the Messiah, the Son of the living God.' And Jesus answered and said unto him, 'Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it.'" Okay, there is a ton of information in that. I'm just going to cover one aspect of it right now. There are three main interpretations of what Christ was saying to Peter at this time. The Roman Catholics take this position that Jesus was telling Peter, whose name Jesus gave him, Petros, it means little rock, that upon him he would build his church, upon Peter, and he would be the first pope. From this, the Roman Catholic Church is able to show a line of papal authority stretching all the way back to Peter, okay? The LDS Church, to some extent, agrees with the Catholic premise that Jesus established his church on Peter. They say he would be the first prophet. But that the Catholic Church and others quickly made a mess of things, which the LDS say was a universal apostasy. And therefore, in 1820, Joseph Smith, a 14-year-old boy, restored the lost priesthood that Peter had and back to the earth, and then restored Jesus' church. This being said, the LDS also use these very passages as proof texts for claims of modern revelation. When Jesus asked the question, "Who do you say that I am?" to Peter, and Peter's reply came not from men, but from the Father which is in heaven, the LDS say that this is indicative of that Jesus is going to build his church not only on authority, but he's also going to build it on revelation. Upon this, the LDS say this being revelation. Upon this, revelation, okay? The final general interpretation of these passages is the Protestant view, which I believe is absolutely the correct view, which states that when Jesus asked, "Who do people say that I am?" or "Who do you say that I am?" and Peter said, "Thou art the Messiah, the Son of the living God," that Jesus was saying it was this testimony. Thou art the Messiah, the Son of the living God. You are the Messiah. You are the Son of the living God. That it is upon this testimony, this rock, that his church would be built. Christians get support for this fact that in the Old Testament and in the New, Jesus is known as the rock with a capital R. And while Peter is known as a little pebble or a lowercase r. Now, this doesn't mean Christians throw Peter out, not at all. He was certainly the apostle which had the keys to open up the gospel there at Pentecost. He preached to the Jews there. Then he went to Cornelius and he preached the gospel first to the Gentiles. He was the one opening the doors for the gospel to come forward. So they don't throw Peter out. They just say he started it up. And then now with a foundation of prophets, Old Testament, and John the Baptist, apostles, the 12 in the New Testament, with Jesus Christ being the chief cornerstone, Jesus builds his church made up of believers. We make up the building, and that's how they see it. If we were to take all three of these interpretations, Matthew 16, the Catholic, the LDS, the classic Protestant, and set them side by side, they almost have equal arguments on that single passage discussion alone. Almost equal arguments, okay? So somewhere in that mix comes the full truth of what it means entirely. Yes, we do govern the church by revelation. Yes, the church was founded upon an authoritative church. So that's why we have pastors and things. Somewhere in there is the truth. And it's the only thing in our discussion of Matthew that I have to say there's arguments on all sides. I got to be fair. But when we look at most of the other things we've talked about in Matthew, the LDS view just doesn't stand up at all.